when I'm lonely in the dark. I know you are with me, yeah. Don't you see that I need you so much? Don't you see that I love you so much? Oh na 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 na, oh na 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 na, darling, I need your love. Oh na 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 na, oh na 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 na, darling, I need your love.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Or just do the old hello, ladies and gentlemen. How's it going? So, quick apologies need to be said. I have completely lost track of time. I'm not going to make any excuses. And, well, the race started 20 minutes ago, give or take. So what we're going to do is once my iRacing loads up and I get into the session, I'm going to rewind all the way back to the start of the race, which is thankfully possible with iRacing, so we can actually have some form of a broadcast for the race. And all of you guys who have been very patient and have it tuned in will be able to enjoy the full race and won't be able to miss out on any action. And I guess on the plus side, you know, kind of silver lining is the fact that the drivers, after they finish the race, will then also be able to tune in and watch their own antics on circuit, whether that be them killing other drivers on circuit or making some splendid overtakes or winning the race, whatever it may be. So my sim is 77% loaded, and once it is fully in, we can get underway. And let me just open up my timings, my timing sheet. I don't know, what do I call it? Timings. Something like that. Who knows? Timing screen. Perfect. Right. We'll be underway in just a few moments' time. But, hello everyone. How are you all doing? I hope you're having a good time. And with that, please tell me it lets me go back to, I think it could do. Please go back to lap 0. Ah, it doesn't. Okay, that is sad. It only lets us go back to the bit where we had actually got in from. So, let's just jump in then, because right now Simon Edwards is the man we're riding on board with as he's making his way through on Paul Crabb, and these two are battling for the lead. Lap 9 of 18 here at Spa, and we're jumping right on in as Simon Edwards takes the lead. Paul Crabb down to P2. John Mccutchenson back out on circuit after he failed to make the race last time out at Road Atlanta. Remember, he qualified on pole, but for some reason was unable to get his car on the grid, and it saw Mr. John Mccutchenson unable to pick up any points. And is my trading paints working? I don't know if it is, because John Mccutchenson usually has a very nice Scottish flag on the front of his car. Just trying to see what other battles we have. We've got a battle going on for P6, Dave Kirkman and James Child. Currently knows to tail Dave Kirkman in the number 88 orange and black checkered car. He's got Kirkman on the front, and then James Child in the more plain looking grey and orange Radical. I'm just trying to see if I have any information on where these guys started so that I can see if they have really been able to climb up the order or whatnot. And either way, from James Child, will be looking to get past on Dave Kirkman as quickly as he can. He's got Paul Clark not too far behind. You can just see Paul Clark in the corner of your shot. What about Daniel Beauchamp? He's on the back of Gavin Marston. And as we must say every single week, the best looking Radical, or the best liveried Radical out on the field, running with that 00 Damon Hill livery back from 1994. And that was because I believe it was Damon, I can't remember if it was Damon Hill or David Coulthard who jumped in for Ayrton Senna after his tragic accident in Imola. And because Ayrton Senna had the number 1, I don't think he could take the number 1, so they had to give him the 00 car and make a new number for him, if I recall correctly. But Daniel Beauchamp goes down the inside of Gavin Marston, down into the bus stop chicane, and he makes it look nice and easy. Daniel Beauchamp up to P11 as Paul Clark is right on the back of James Child, and Dave Kirkman right in this as well. My timings have gone somewhat bonkers. And that's James Child now looking for the inside. Paul Clark will follow through. Dave Kirkman will lose both positions. But as Paul Clark have the slipstream to make it 2 in 1. Looks for the inside down into the chicane. It will also always be a tough one to pull off. Unable to do so. And actually, it does compromise Paul Clark somewhat. And it means that James Child has been able to pull out half a second already over Paul Clark, just through a couple of corners at the exit of the Kemmel Straight. I will always forget what the chicane is called. That's it, Lecombe. Through Lecombes. And you can see that gap is actually just extending with every passing corner. James Child up to P6 now. Paul Clark in P7, ahead of this man, Dave Kirkman, down in P8. Richard Brown having a decent time, currently in P17. I say decent time, I don't really know if he would be happy with this kind of result. Either way, he is right on the back of Graham Brown. Surnames are spelt differently, so I do not think these two are related to each other. Frankie Dixon, a second down on Patrick Charlton as they're making their way through Blanchimont. And you know what, let's ride on board then with John Mccutchenson as he's making his way onto the start-finish straight to start lap 12 of 18. Pardon me, lap 11 of 18. Down the braking into La Source. You can see John Mccutchenson gets a lot tighter to the curb, but as a result, it does tend to mean that you're carrying a little bit less corner speed. And you can see Simon Edwards able to pull out on corner exit from the number 7 Radical. Oh, the back end. You can feel that the back end of John Mccutchenson's Radical is on the very verge of stepping out. So we make our way down the Kemmel Straight. This is where slipstream really comes into effect. John Mccutchenson just going to utilise a little bit of lifting and coasting on the run down into Lecombe. Now into Malmedy. Bit more understeer we're seeing from John Mccutchenson compared to Simon Edwards up ahead. Down the hill through Rivage and into Brussels. Hold it nice and tight. Short shifting sometimes it helps. Don't really need to do so in the Radicals as you make your way down into No Name, the downhill left-hander. And continue to make your way down the hill, down into the valley here at Spa-Francorchamps. And down in towards Pouhon. Fourth gear left, get the front end turned in. Don't want to use too much curb because it can unsettle the car. We're now down towards the Fanier chicane. Nice and clean from John Mccutchenson. Stavlo up ahead. Dropping Kicking it down into third gear again, get that front end turned in, back on the power, use up as much track as you can without getting an invalidation through Stavilo. It's pretty much a flat out in the radicals, coming out of a low speeder from Campus corner. And now into curve Portfrais. I think it's Portfrais. And now Blanchim on the fastest corner on the circuit. I believe it is faster than Eau Rouge. Down into the bus stop chicane to complete a lap. So important to make sure that front end really gets tucked in right up to the curb so that you can open up the steering as much as possible. No changes in position. Paul Crabb, this man still leads. I tell you what, Dave Kirkman is still on the back of Paul Clark, James the Child. Just a 6/10 ahead in this three-way battle for P6. Ooh, I think we might be having a battle further down the order. Andrew Hugel closing in onto Phil Glover for what is a P13 of the race. Lap 12 of 18 started here in Belgium. Phil Glover sporting the Repsol livery as Andrew Hugel sends it down the inside. But he has to take the tyre to line, and as a result, he won't be able to get on the power as early. And that's why you see Andrew Hugel able to sweep her back through to make their way down into Eau Rouge and up through Radion. Still nose to tail between the pair of them. I tell you what, Phil Glover might actually have a good chance here. Andrew Hugel looking to the outside. Phil Glover going defensive, and Andrew Hugel will sweep round the outside down into Lecombe. And the 22 makes his way up into P13. Great stuff from Andrew Hugel. Honestly, this battle for P6 really does seem to be getting more intense with each passing lap. We've already seen a shuffle of positions just a few laps ago. And we may yet see more changes in the order. Right, here comes Dave Kirkman then. I think he is close enough to go for the move. You know what? Forget the gyro cam. We want the cockpit. We want to see exactly what Dave Kirkman is seeing. Maybe not quite exact. He might be running a slightly different field of view. You can see Paul Clark picking up the slipstream from James Child and maybe outbraking himself is the number 24. Oh, aggressive on the throttle from Dave Kirkman. The back end just stepping out as the power gets put down in these radicals. On the brakes down into the source. Dave Kirkman just a little bit hesitant on getting the power on. But here comes John Mccutchenson on the rear end of Paul Crabb. Does he have a look? No, lifting coast again. Down into Lecombe. And it is still Simon Edwards from Paul Crabb from John Mccutchenson. I think there's actually been a switch because I think Paul Crabb was leading just a lap ago. But this is what you can expect to see here at Spa. Long straight, slipstream is absolutely huge. And if this was a long race, an endurance race, you would want to be the person in third because it would just mean that you can just sit behind for a few laps, or well, for pretty much the entirety of the race and save up like 2 laps of fuel. You'd have to spend a couple of seconds less in the pit stops. And as a result, you could pull off a rather big leapfrog. Oh, John Mccutchenson taking a much more aggressive line into the Fanier chicane. Already putting the car all the way back over to the right for the left-hander. Just letting it kind of diagonally approach the left-hander. Make its way and allows the car to make its way up onto the apex. Is John Mccutchenson close enough this time round? Because Simon Edwards is starting to pull the trigger. But right as I say, that slipstream comes into effect. And Paul Crabb closes back up again. A lockup coming through under rotation of the tyre. And I think that was from one of the back markers. because Simon Edwards made the apex perfectly fine. Still 1, 2, 3, nose to tail. We start lap 14 of 18. 5 laps remain here at Francorchamps. How's Dave Kirkman doing? Still on the rear end of this group, being led by James Child in P6. James Child a further 9 seconds behind of Frankie Dixon. Frankie Dixon and Patrick Charlton in P5 and P4 respectively. And we haven't really had much to say about them. They've just been in their own little race, in their own bubble at the moment. Socially distancing, as one might say. But I think Dave Kirkman's got a good run. Either way, let's just keep an eye on John Mccutchenson, as that's Paul Crabb going around the outside of Simon Edwards. Thankfully, we just get to see the move in action. Fairly standard move. Paul Crabb picked up the slipstream, went to the outside. Job's a good one. Now, question is, can Paul Clark do the same onto James Child here? Because he's looking for the outside. James Child will go defensive. The overspeed coming into effect, but does Paul Clark have the bravery around the outside of Lecombe? They're still side by side. James Child will hold on to the position, and you can just see, I want to highlight this just like we did last time out. You can see the rear grille. Oh, that's a back end stepping out from James Child. Almost contact. And Dave Kirkman, I think he was able to avoid contact. We'll just see that from Dave Kirkman's perspective. Ooh. Actually, was the rear end of that? No, you can see, look at the rear grille. You can see the damage coming into play. So, Paul Clark picking up a little bit of damage, same with Dave Kirkman. I don't think James Child got tangled up in it, though. Meanwhile, lap 15 of 18 then. For your top 3. Sorry, lap 14 of 18 apparently, for your top 3. John Mccutchenson, 2 tenths behind Simon Edwards. Simon Edwards and Paul Crabb, they've been switching positions, and it's been John Mccutchenson who's had to set off for P3. You always kind of want to be second in this train, because if you're third, you can't really get ahead of second, because second gets slipstream from the guy up ahead. But that being said, John Mccutchenson has got an absolutely fantastic drive on the pair of them, and they're going to be a 3 abreast coming down into Lecombe. John Mccutchenson round the outside. Get in there, son. Fantastic move from the number 7 Scotsman as he takes the lead here at Francorchamps. John Mccutchenson leads. The question is, can he pull the trigger? Paul Crabb losing two positions in one corner, and John Mccutchenson has already got himself a fairly sizable advantage. You can visibly see the gap that he has been able to pull to Simon Edwards, and let's ride on board now with the number 52 driver. As look at John Mccutchenson, he is flying right now, 8 tenths between the two of them, and the next opportunity for Simon Edwards to close back into the number 7 Scotsman is going to be on the exit of Stavelot, all the way up through Blanchimont. That's where you need to get slipstream in. But John Mccutchenson has already almost pulled 1 second. Runs a little bit wide on the exit of the right-hander. That is Camper's Corner. Through Stavelot, 9 tenths. Simon Edwards, you know, if this was a karting race, he'd be putting his head down, hoping that there'd be some more slipstream effect coming into play. Let's see with Paul Crabb. He's 5 tenths behind. Simon Edwards is closing in. What was nearly a 1 second gap is now 8 tenths, and will probably drop to nearly 7 tenths of a second, or almost under 7 tenths. Is 7.5 tenths as they make their way into the braking zone. Rare mistake we've just seen from John Mccutchenson as the back end snapped out under turn in. Well caught by John Mccutchenson, but that might have just thrown his idea, his attempt to pull away from Simon Edwards down the drain. As Simon Edwards makes a mistake himself, and now Paul Crabb will get a good run onto Simon Edwards. 1 second between John Mccutchenson and Simon Edwards. Simon Edwards has to absolutely nail a Rouge and Radion. Let's ride on board. It's tidy, but is it quick? Just under a second separating the top 2. And let's see how that gap changes as we make our way down the straight. 8.5 tenths. And into the braking zone, what will the gap be? Still 8.5 tenths. So Simon Edwards is within that 1 second, but now John Mccutchenson has a long sequence of corners to go before the next big straight. This is a huge opportunity for John Mccutchenson to break the slipstream from these two of Simon Edwards and Paul Crabb in P2 and P3 respectively. puff of smoke coming up as Simon Edwards just having a little bit of a lock-up on one of the wheels. Couldn't quite see which it was. 8 tenths from John Mccutchenson to Simon Edwards. Simon Edwards has been able to close the gap back down through the last few corners. The gap yo-yos back up to 9.5 tenths. This is such an important lap for Simon Edwards, such a critical moment of the race. Not just for John Mccutchenson, but for Simon Edwards as well, and for Paul Crabb. He can't try to battle with Simon. If he battles with Simon, it will cost the pair of them time, and John Mccutchenson will pull away. For Paul Crabb, he has to work with Simon Edwards here. He has to have faith in his competitor that Simon Edwards won't make mistakes and will be able to use the slipstream to close back in onto the hutch. Through Blanchimont, Paul Crabb forced to left. Couldn't quite get the ideal run through the fast sweeping left-hander. 6.5 tenths between first and second. And Simon Edwards has been able to well and truly get back within the slipstream range. Fantastic stuff from Simon. He had to nail the lap, and that's exactly what he did. Last time round, John Mccutchenson at 2:11.3, Simon Edwards at 2:12.6 apparently. And I have a feeling that that is slightly wrong, because that means John Mccutchenson gained 1.3 seconds on the last lap, and there's less than a second separate than when John Mccutchenson was ahead of Simon Edwards last time round. Oh, there we go, it's updated. 2:11.7 for the Hutch, and 2:11.4 for Simon Edwards. Now Simon Edwards looking too far back, but these two are now back into a good old-fashioned scrap with each other. Lap 17 of 18, penultimate lap of the race here at Francorchamps. And your race is between John Mccutchenson, Simon Edwards, and this man, Paul Crabb, in the white 54 Jaguar Radical. Pardon me, the 64 Radical. Just trying to see if there are any other battles out on circuit. The only other two that are within a second is James Child and Jamie Bird. We can ride on board with them for just a second. And oh, that's a lot of damage to the rear end of James Child's car. You can see that rear spoiler not looking good. Absolutely not. And someone has really had a punterino at the rear end of the 05 Radical. And hopefully that's not costing him too much time. It's almost like, you know, it's like a plane trying to land when you take a look at the rear wing of James the Child. And hopefully he can nurse that car home to the end. Last time around for James Child, a 2:13.9. And for Jamie Bird, it was a 2:14.2. So, at the very least, James Child, his pace seems to be right there. Now, let's ride on board from Paul Crabb, because he can see everything unfolding up ahead as we're making our way through Blanchimont for the penultimate time tonight. Completely flat, as per usual. The tyre wear not enough of a factor to see drivers having to lift when they can take Blanchimont without any back markers in the way, or when they are not running side by side with anyone. Back end moment for Simon Edwards to make their way out of the bus stop chicane, and we start the final lap of the race here for the UK and Ireland Radical, round 5 here at Francorchamps. And this is where it all comes down. And this is where the move is likely to be made, if, and I say if a move is to be made at all, through Eau Rouge, through Radion, it's Simon Edwards. He's the man we have to look at. He's got the run, he's got the slipstream on John Mccutchenson, but the question is, does he have the bravery? Can he hold it around the outside? The Hutch will hold it defensive, and Simon Edwards in the 52 car looks to the outside on the final lap here at Spa, but the Hutch is late enough onto the brakes, and Mccutchenson will hold on to the lead as Paul Crabb, he wants to go at Simon Edwards as well. He had a look down the inside into Malmedy, but Simon Edwards slammed the door shut. Down into Brussels we go. And it is still Simon Edwards holding on to P2, but Paul Crabb, you can kind of tell that Paul Crabb has really switched it on. He wants to go for the move. He wants to take the P2 spot, and he is done with sitting in behind Simon Edwards. Paul Crabb understeering down into Pouon. You can see the gaps have well and truly expanded back out. Things are looking dire. Paul Crabb braking on the curb, trying to use as much track as possible, trying to put in the best lap of his life. Simon Edwards using up all of the track on the exit of the final chicane down into Stavolo. Pardon me, down into Campus they go. And I think Simon Edwards 1 second behind Mccutchenson. John Mccutchenson has this one done and dusted. We'll switch back to this battle momentarily. That was between James Child and Jamie Bird for P7. But for now, it's celebration time for the Scotsman. Just a bus stop remains between John Mccutchenson and his redemption win. He arguably could have won last time out at Road Atlanta, but connection issues saw him unable to race. But this time, John Mccutchenson is back in form, and he takes the win for round 5 of the UK and Ireland Championship. Simon Edwards takes second ahead of Paul Crabb. And Jamie Bird, what has happened to Jamie Bird? I think there's been a mistake somewhere. What has he done? Does he turn in too hot? Does he lose the back end? He's out of fuel. Jamie Bird is out of fuel. He's run out of fuel. Gavin Marsden will fly past Jamie Bird. Is someone going to be a gentleman? Is someone going to push Jamie Bird across the line? Patrick Charlton has taken P4 ahead of Frankie Dixon and Dave Kirkman. James Child in P7 and Jamie Bird has nothing left. Oh, what could have been a P8 for Jamie Bird. That is heartbreaking for him. That is not what you like to see, as Phil Glover has Richard Brown hot on his heels. Richard Brown in the 3 car, Phil Glover in the 07, and Phil Glover will take the final spot in the top 10. Ahead of Richard Brown, Graham Brown in a lonely P12. And Paul Clark, well, he's dropped down the order, hasn't he? Remember, he was running alongside James Child at one point in that battle with Jamie Bird for P7. And I'm not quite sure what's happened to him, but he has really dropped down the order. So very unfortunate for him. But he'll take a solitary P13. Simon Mortley can come home in P4, or Simon Mortley can take P14 ahead of Andrew Hugill. Matt Witheridge makes his way through Blanchimont. Fiona Siddle's not too far behind. Now, I think on the last lap, Matt Witheridge actually found a way through on Fiona Siddons. I think Fiona Siddons will be happy with that. And oh! Matt Witheridge is out of fuel. That would explain why Fiona Siddons was able to close so much right at the end to Matt Witheridge. He can't make it to the line. No, it's almost like Jenson Button, but it is not for P4. Or whatever it was that Jenson Button had on the cards all those years ago for BAR Honda. But there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Well, hopefully some of the lads will join me for a good old interview. I've just joined the interview room now. Maybe some of the drivers wouldn't have seen me and would have thought that I have already dipped, as usually I'm in there during the race as well. Well, at least towards the end of the race. Let's see if anyone will want to join. Either way, ladies and gents, hello again. My little lion wants to say hello. Say hello, lion. Very polite line. Good line. This is what I dropped down to. This is what the quality of the stream descends to when the drivers don't join for interviews. It makes me very sad. Fiona Siddons, I'm sure, will stop by. She always does pop by at the end, or at least most of the time. Maybe today could be a rare exception. And no, speaking of Fiona Siddons, hello Fiona, how are you doing?
Oh, very well, thank you. P16 and on the lead lap. I'll take that as a good result for me.
I remember speaking to you last week and you saying that a top 20 sounded unlikely. Well, you've only gone and done it.
Yeah, yeah. You must be a good omen.
So, where do you think you won't be making next week? And then we can see if we can make that actually happen.
I don't think I'll get top 16 again.
It could be more ambitious, top 10. You know,
I'm not sure where we are next week, to be fair.
I'm not sure either. I also wanted to ask Fiona, did you have a little wry smile on your face when you saw Matt Witheridge grinding to a halt ahead of you through the final chicane?
Yes, I did. I think he'd run out of fuel, I think.
I think there was one other driver who ran out of fuel, which was Jamie Bird. How close were you to running out of fuel then, Fiona?
I've got plenty of fuel left. I could have done another lap too easy.
Okay, running high on the fuel then, not
Yeah,
saving any.
I think I put too much fuel in.
See, what's all of this? You know, we have to save the environment, Fiona. You know, why are you putting so much fuel in the car, burning all of this fuel?
Good job. It's virtual, isn't it?
Okay, so ruining outside wasn't enough. We need to ruin the virtual countryside of Spa as well.
Yeah, that's it.
Either way, Fiona, thank you very much for joining.
Yeah, thank you, Milky. We'll see you next week.
No worries at all. And I see Dave Kirkman has joined, but John Mccutchenson has also joined. And as he's our race winner, I think it would only be right for us to have a chat with him. John, how you doing?
Hey, Milky. Good, man. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Good to see you back in form. Good to see you actually able to make the race. Talk us through those final few laps because they look very entertaining.
Yeah, up until I think maybe lap 13 or something, it was just follow the leader. And then I seen Dominic was about 3 or 4 seconds ahead, so I thought that was a good time to maybe catch his draft and pull away. Didn't manage to pull away, but held the lead. That's the main thing.
Well, when you pulled off the move, it looked like you had pretty much pulled the gap to about a second, and then you made, I think it was a slight mistake into the final chicane. Can you just talk us through what happened?
Yeah, I just lit up the tyres. Rear tyres were starting to get a bit hot. It's easy done.
And then on that very final lap, yourself and Simon Edwards running side by side into the chicane at the end of the Kemmel Straight. Did you always think that you'd be able to have it covered on the inside, or were you worried that he'd be able to find the grip on the outside?
The inside line's always the best. You've got a second chance at the third turn after it as well, if you go side by side. So it's always best to hold the inside line and just hope for no contact.
Well, either way, John, thanks for joining me and congrats on another race win.
Yeah, thanks, Milky. Cheers.
I think I'll jump to Dave Kirkman next because he has been in the lobby for a while. Dave, P6 is going your way. How's your race?
Yeah, that was a good race for me, obviously. Finishing P6 was a good result. I had a slightly higher downforce setup than I think most of the guys around me, but that helped me at the end with having a bit more grip. A lot of people were struggling, it seemed, that were on the lower downforce setting. So it was kind of worked out actually in the end with some people spinning off in front of me. James Child was one of them. And Paul Clark, I was racing hard with him, and then he kind of just pulled off. Don't know what happened to him, but yeah, very good race from my point of view. Not really making any mistakes, just kind of keeping it on the track and making my way up through the carnage that the people were making mistakes.
Now, there were a few drivers out on circuit that had a lonely race, but you weren't one of them. You were involved in a nice three-way battle with James the Child and Jamie Bird. How was the battling from your perspective?
Yeah, because I had that higher downforce setting every time I was going down the straight, it was just I struggled to keep up with them. But in the corners, certainly in the midsection, I was right on the backsides basically, and a few times I did put my nose in and try and get past, but yeah, it was a tough race really to actually make it work because where I was quicker, I couldn't really get past them. And obviously down the long straight, when you get to the corner, that's where people were really making the overtaking moves. So it was very difficult for me to get past them. But yeah, as I said, it kind of worked in my favour because I hung back and let everyone else kind of get into trouble, and then I benefited from their mistakes. So actually, it wasn't too bad having that set up in the end.
Well, either way, Dave, thank you for joining me, and congrats on the P6.
Thank you very much. Yep. See you next week.
Hope to see you next week. We'll move on then to our P2 man, Mr. Simon Edwards, I believe is here. Simon, how are you doing?
I'm-
Oh, Simon, you cut
Can
out.
you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, there we go. Right. I couldn't remember if I'd bound a button, so I pressed the button and then I accidentally let go of it. That was an interesting race. I'd taken all the downforce I could off the car. I'd got it almost a flat rake. I'd got no toe in either end of the car. I'd got my front tyre pressures higher than normal just to try and get my drag down. It worked, but then I couldn't get through. Once I was in the tow of other people, I just had no front end grip. So I was struggling to stay with them, but then I was shooting up to them on the straights. So it made an interesting race, and I was surprised that I could actually eventually get back to them. We were all very kind to each other when we challenged as well. So I made sure I backed out if I felt John had the corner, and he did the same with me and so forth. So I know Paul thinks it was a little bit boring, and he's probably right. But I don't normally drive this car, so to drive this quick round Spa, my favourite track, is always a nice pleasure for me. So is that a long enough answer for you?
Yeah, it's I think it's a decent answer. I think I could make a mini essay out of it. You mentioned that you were shooting up two drivers, and on that last lap you really close into John Mccutchenson. How close were you to trying to hold it round the outside into the chicane?
I was always going to chicken out, I think. If I'd been on the inside, I would have definitely had a go. But I hadn't practiced an outside line even when we were in practice, so which I normally do, try alternate lines, and I forgot to do that one. So I was chickening out a little bit. So that's my answer. I was going to always chicken out there.
Well, hopefully we don't see you chickening out of the next race, and we hope to see you in fine form once again. Simon, congrats on the P2, and thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Right, we'll move on to our P3 driver, Paul Crabb. And Paul, according to Simon, that was a bit of a boring race for you.
It was a bit boring in the middle. I've done a couple of official races during the week, and they've panned out almost identically to this one, where everyone just is back and forth in the lead gaggle until the last lap. But I thought I got myself in a good position, but I just didn't quite make the tow work well enough down the Kemmel Straight. So, and then I got a bit of oversteer coming out of the no-name corner, which just put me off the back of Simon. So I was doomed to third, but still good fun race. All good clean stuff. It's just a shame the toe in the Radical is so strong. It kind of spoils it on long straight tracks a bit.
I mean, I just want to try to get an understanding, and for our viewers as well, you know, how strong that toe is. If you were going into that three-way battle on the last lap, what position would you want to be in? Would you want to be in first and defend from the two behind, or be second with one car's worth of slipstream, or down in third with two cars worth of slipstream?
I think I'd want to be in second or third, definitely not first. The guy in first, John was lucky to get away with it, to be honest, because we should have been closer to him coming out of the last corner before Eau Rouge, and should have drafted past him easily. And once you pass there, then it's a battle down into the last chicane. And that's where I was expecting all the action to happen, but we got spread out before that, which is a bit unfortunate, because that would have been the most interesting bit. So.
Well, either way, congrats on the P3. Can we hope to see one better from you, or maybe even two better from you next week?
God, I hope so. I used to be quite good.
Actually, out of curiosity, what is your best result of the season so far?
This is my best result, I think, so
Oh,
far.
okay.
Third. Yeah, yeah. I'd I got good high hopes for Monza and pretty good hopes for here, but I knew it really was going to be a bit of a toss of the coin.
Right.
Although John Mccutchenson's very strong when he's up front, he does his best to keep the lead, fairly mine, but he does his best. So I've got no complaints.
Well, Paul, we hope to see you in great form next weekend. Onwards and upwards, and maybe we can see the P2 or even that race win for you.
Yeah, maybe.
We'll move on then to Phil Glover, who took a P10 today. Phil, how you doing?
I'm okay, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. I was a little bit late, so I didn't quite see the start of the race. How was things for you on the opening lap?
Very, very cautious. I think in practice, I don't think I actually managed to do a lap. I kept playing with the wing, trying to reduce it. And each time I went round, I was having to increase it again because I was just spinning out all the time. So it was a case of me trying to drive real cautious. I wasn't paying too much attention to what was around me, to be honest. It was more a case of just trying to keep on the track today.
And right at the end of the race, you had Richard Brown hot on your heels. I think you had him fairly close to you for a large portion of the race. Did you guys ever kind of switch around positions, or were you just always keeping him at bay?
I don't think so. So I know Richard was definitely catching me, and I had to go defensive on the last couple of corners. If it hadn't been the last lap or so, I'd have probably let him pass because he seemed a lot quicker than me. But so I don't know. Richard maybe had something happen further down that put him behind. I'm not sure.
And there was definitely a few issues for quite a few drivers regarding fuels. What was it like from your end? No issues, or did you have to do a bit of fuel saving?
No, because I kind of listened to what people were putting in, and I think Paul said he put 44 litres in, and I thought, right, well, I don't want to, when you lower down the grid like me, it doesn't make that much difference, but it does if you start running out of fuel. So I think I put 48 litres, maybe even a little bit more in than that. So yeah, I'd rather be safe than sorry, really.
Well, safe over sorry sounds like a good idea to me. Top 10 finish coming through. Congrats, Phil. And can we expect another top 10 result from you next week?
Well, who knows? Which track is it next week?
I'm not actually sure. It's been a while since I went and looked at the iRacing schedule, I'll be honest with you.
Well, I'll certainly try my best. I turned off. I've got a motion simulator, and I turned that off tonight because I found that's been causing me a few issues. So maybe I might try that. Try it off again next week and see how I get on. Really.
Well, whatever happens to work best for you. Either way, congrats on the P10 again, and thank you very much for joining me.
Pleasure to talk to you. Take care.
Thank you very much. That was Phil Glover, who secured a P10 tonight. Just seeing from Gavin Marsden. Yay, finally top 10. I know, great to see the Rothmans livery in the top 10. Congratulations, Gavin. If there is anyone who is tuning in on the stream and they would like to hop on in for a quick interview, we do still have a little bit of time that we can spend chatting to some of you lovely drivers. Otherwise, we will close things out here. Apologies again to everyone that I did miss the start of the race. Sadly, I couldn't quite rewind time and catch the start and play through the opening few laps. Otherwise, that would have somewhat made at least some amends, but sadly that was not the case. Thankfully, though, we were still able to catch the final, I think it was final 10 laps of the race, or something like that. But it does seem that nobody else is jumping in for an interview, so thank you guys, everyone, so much for tuning in. Thank you again to Hi-Fi Lounge and HPE Automotive for sponsoring the stream. We'll be back next week for more Radical action. You can find the link in the YouTube description to the UK and Ireland Radical Champion or Radical League website. And if you're interested, you can join in. And we'll be back next week, and hopefully we'll be on time, so you won't miss any qualifying. You'll get to catch the last few minutes of practice and the race as well. You have my word on that one. And